Hello mathematicians, and welcome to this video on converting between mixed numbers and improper fractions. Now, we learned in class that a mixed number is a whole number with a fraction next to it. So looking at some examples of that, we could have something like 1 as our whole number and 3/5 as our fraction. That entire thing is a mixed number. We can also have negative mixed numbers. For example, we could have -2 and 1/7. That is still a mixed number. -2 is the whole number and 1/7 is the fraction. We also learned about an improper fraction. An improper fraction is a fraction with a numerator that is larger than the denominator. An example of this, well, let's choose our denominator first, just for fun. I'm going to choose 6 as my denominator. Now we just have to choose any number that is larger than 6. How about 17? That works. That's an improper fraction. And just like mixed numbers, improper fractions can be negative as well. For example, maybe we have a denominator of 18 and a numerator of 51. That's an improper fraction. If you make it negative, it is still an improper fraction. Now we're going to do 4 examples. 2 examples will be converting a mixed number to an improper fraction, and the other 2 examples will be going the other way, where we start with an improper fraction and convert it to a mixed number. So first, we're going to go from a mixed number to an improper fraction. For example number 1, let's say that we have, let's do the same one we did before, 1 and 3/5. We want to convert this mixed number to an improper fraction. So in class, we learned that we can take the whole number, which is 1, and multiply it by the denominator, which is 5. And I'll use the asterisk to represent multiplication. And then we add our numerator, which is 3. So looking at that in one step, this says take your whole number, which is 1, multiply it by your denominator, which is 5, add your numerator, which is 3, and then put all of that over the original denominator, which is 5. Now, according to GEMDAS, aka the order of operations, we know that multiplication comes before addition. So this is 1 and this is 2. So in this problem, we only have multiplication and addition. Technically, we also have division because we're talking about fractions, but we are not going to be actually evaluating the fraction. So 1 times 5 gives us 5, and we still have plus 3 from before, and we still have the denominator of 5. 5 plus 3 gives us 8, and our denominator stays as 5. Now we want to see if we can reduce or simplify this fraction of 8/5. Let's see, are these numbers 8 and 5 both even? No, 8 is even, but 5 is odd. Okay, does 8 go into 5? No, too large. Does 5 go into 8? Not perfectly. Okay, then that means we are done. So 8/5 is our improper fraction. Note that 8/5 and 1 3/5 are the same number. They are just represented in a different way. Moving on to the second example, let's do something with negatives. So let's say we have -4 and 6/15. We want to convert this to an improper fraction. Our first step is going to be to temporarily ignore the negative. We will put it in later, but right now we don't consider it. It's not to hurt its feelings, it just has to wait. So just like before, we will multiply our whole number of 4 by our denominator, which is 15. And then we will add our numerator, which is 6. So whole number is 4, denominator is 15, numerator is 6, and our original denominator is 15. Okay, great. According to GEMDAS, do your multiplication first. 4 times 15 makes 60. And then, oops, let me put that in yellow. We still have that plus 6 over 15. That will give us 66 over 15. Okay, now we need to tack on our negative again. So we ignored it at first, but now it's been very patient. We'll tack it back on. So we get negative 66 over 15. And now we just need to ask ourselves, is this fully reduced? Well, let's see. Are both of these numbers even? No, 66 is even, 15 is odd. I'm sort of discounting that negative again there. But does one number go into the other? Well, 66 does not go into 15. 15 does not go into 66. However, they do both have a common factor, and that common factor is 3. There is a video that I created on greatest common factor, so I recommend that if you are unfamiliar with the step that I just did or how I just knew that, definitely watch that video. Okay, so now put our negative back. We know that 66 divided by 3 is 22, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now 22 does not go into 5, 5 does not go into 22, and the only common factor they share is 1. So we are done. This has been fully reduced. So again, negative 22 over 5 is the same number as negative 4 and 6/15, just written a different way. Okay, so in these next two examples, we're going to go the other way. We're going to start with an improper fraction, and we're going to convert it to a mixed number. And the way we're going to do that is the way that I taught in class, which is using long division, also known as the little house. Okay, so for example 3, let's take a look at the improper fraction 13/8. All right, so we're going to use long division here. The numerator is going to go on the inside, and the denominator is going to go on the outside. How many times does 8 fit into 13 without going over? 1 time, because 8 times 1 is 8, and 8 times 2 is 16, which is too large. And please remember, the 1 does not go right here. We are not asking how many times 8 goes into 1. No, that's 0 times, because 8 is larger than 1. We're asking how many times does 8 go into 13. That is 1 time. Okay, 8 times 1 makes 8. So now we subtract, borrow 10 from that 1. That will give us 13 here, and 0 here. Sorry, that looks like a 6. Let's make it clear that's a 0. 1 more. Okay, so 13 minus 8 gives us 5. This number right here, the 5, is called the remainder. Remainder. It's what remains. And the 1 in yellow is called the quotient. Quotient. That is the answer to the division problem. All right, so when we convert here, our quotient in yellow becomes our whole number, in our fraction, the original denominator of 8 becomes our denominator of the mixed number. And our remainder in green, which is 5, becomes our numerator. And now, as usual, we ask ourselves, are 5 and 8 both even? No. Does 5 go into 8? Not perfectly. Does 8 go into 5? No, it's too large. Do 5 and 8 share a common factor? Just 1. So we are done. And please note that 13/8 and 1 5/8 are again the same number in a different form. For our last example, we will do a negative number. Let's do -10/6. Okay, so just like with mixed numbers to improper fractions, we are going to ignore the negative for right now. It just needs to be patient. We'll create our little house. Numerator of 10 goes inside. Denominator of 6 goes outside. 6 goes into 10 one time without going over. Make sure it's over the 0. I want to be perfectly clear about that. 6 times 1 is 6. Borrow 10 from 1. That becomes 0. This becomes 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. Okay, so our quotient in yellow becomes our whole number. It's 1. The denominator of our fraction is still 6. That's what it was originally, right there. And the numerator of our fraction is the remainder, which is 4. Okay, now we ask ourselves, are 4 and 6 both even? Yes, they are. So that means that they share a common factor of 2. So we can divide both numbers by 2. Let me be clear, that's division. Okay, so we still get 1 as our whole number. Now for our fraction, the numerator is now 4 divided by 2. That's 2. And the denominator is 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay, so 2 over 3, the only common factor they share is 1. Neither number goes into the other perfectly, and they are not both even. So the only thing we have left to do is thank that negative sign for its patience, and we will attach it. So our final answer is -1 2/3. That is fully reduced, fully simplified. So -10/6 is the same as -1 2/3, just in a different form. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.